doing today?
We're good. How are you, Margaret?
Do I sound authoritative? Good.
More anger.
Power to the people. So come on in, come up closer. I'm lonely up here. Ryan, come take a seat. I'm expecting you guys to come up with lots of good questions, because this panel is really for you and what you might want to know and or hear. So, my name is Margaret Healy. I work at YouTube. I've been fortunate enough to work there since the Google acquisition, working with a lot of original content creators like the people you see on the panel. Phil I've known for a long time, and it's been a pleasure to work with them, and some of these people are I'm just meeting today. So we're really lucky because we do have a group of super smart people, and Jenny, you have some sizzle reels to get things going, so why don't we kick off with that?
This is a news show.
Hello, and welcome to the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday show. My name is DeFranco, and this show really isn't a show. It's just me talking about some of the stuff that mattered to me in the news. News. Let's start off with some political news. Mitt Romney, Osama bin Laden, Katy Perry. Hey, Internet, want to see something terrifying? No, too bad.
White people.
My name is DeFranco, and you've just been filled in.
Hello, Felicia Day here. Hi, my name is Codex. Hi, I'm Codex. I'm Codex. No, I'm Sid. Sid Sherman.
Oh my god.
What's wrong?
I gotta drop some kids off at the pool right now.
What are you talking about?
No, I have to go poo.
Oh, gross. Ooh, okay.
We love talking about trends. What you're loving now?
All access pass to the Super Bowl.
Are we really bringing this up on Young Hollywood?
You know, I've got my bare knuckles.
All morning we've been shooting. I always have my lightning bolts out.
Young Hollywood, you've done it again.
So, Bernie, I'm going to start with you. We missed your sizzle reel. That's okay. You've been busy producing award-winning and writing for award-winning shows. I think your most recent one was Compulsions.
I don't know about recent, but sure.
Well, the last one you won an award, and I think there's an echo in here. And then you've been writing and co-producing for Black Box TV.
Yeah, that was early last year. I was doing a few of their episodes, so in their premium channel.
And you're going to work with Hank Green of the Vlog Brothers to write and co-produce one of his new shows.
Yeah. So just to explain what I'm doing next, I'm doing what we call the YouTube adaptation of Pride and Prejudice, the book. So we're taking that book and we're modernizing it. We're bringing it first person. It's scripted and it's interactive, and we're bringing it to YouTube into that format.
Wow.
That's what's next.
That's great. So, and Phil, since 2006, you've been on the platform. You've gone from a vlogger to, you did a stint on a MTV sponsored show with, not to bring up that, but let's look at the whole history here. You have your own production company, and you're launching one of YouTube's original channels.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. I'm excited about the new pop culture channel SourceFed, and that you guys like me enough to include me with Shaq and Oprah and some of these lovely people.
Yeah, we like Phil a lot at YouTube. And Felicia, lots of cross-platform success. You were recently on the sci-fi hit show. And obviously, I'm sure everyone here knows about your success with the Guild. It's in its 5th season. And tell us what you're doing on YouTube next.
Yeah, like Phil said, I'm very lucky that my team and I got a premium channel. So we're going to be launching Geek and Sundry, a new channel and a new slate of programming in the spring.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, and RJ, you're a YouTube partner, and you're just launching on Monday.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
We're one of the first ones out the gate, Young Hollywood Network. New show every single day, 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern. Starting Monday, 6 episodes a week. Lots of the fun stuff that you saw up there.
Yeah,
you
and
can see it starting Monday.
RJ's a little shy. He's one of the largest independent producers of Hollywood celebrity content. And can we say what's happening tomorrow?
Sure, go for it. Y'all say it. Check out USA Today. We'll be front page. It'll be the feature story. They've been following us around as we've been getting together, building the channel. There's a video that's already on the USA Today website that went up last night. And tomorrow it'll be the front page. And then next week, a bunch of other press, Forbes, Tube Filter, Broadcast Cable, different people that have just been talking to us about our new channel launch.
So, yeah, congratulations. So we're really lucky to have these people to talk to, and I hope you guys are all coming up with a question, because I don't have enough material for an hour. So we have a mic right over here. Feel free to ask a question. So here's our panel, but who are you guys? How many of you have a YouTube channel? Just raise your hand. So maybe 60%. How many of you are YouTube partners? We've got a couple. How many of you are interested in episodic web series on YouTube? See, scripted storytelling. So I thought we'd launch into our first question. Scripted episodic content on YouTube, storytelling. Let's just go down from RJ on. Give them your best advice.
So scripted is something we're not launching with, but it's definitely something we're interested in, we're going to go into. We're finding that doing television length stuff doesn't necessarily translate well to the web. That people really like snackable content. So you could still do, an hour worth of programming, but I don't think it makes sense to necessarily, post an hour show. Bernie might think differently, but just from our experience, that hasn't worked. So our strategy is really 2-minute bites, which we're doing in our unscripted, and when we eventually venture into the scripted programming, that's what we're going to be doing. So you can go exactly to what it is that you want to see. So if there's a certain piece of talent and there's something specifically you want to hear about, you have the ability by just reading the description what's going to be there and maximize your time and really be efficient by going to that.
I mean, obviously, I'm known for doing scripted, and that's what I've been doing mostly. And it's very challenging. And I think there are a lot of people who are making TV shows and expecting them to be very successful on the web. But my advice in talking, a lot of people are making web series, which is weird to hear from me. But when I take somebody to lunch and they're like, hey, I want to do a web series, I'm like, do you really want to do a web series, or do you want to make a short film and go to film festivals, or do you want to make a spec pilot for a TV show? Like, what is your ultimate goal? And what is this tool that you're making, this web series? What are you trying? Where is it trying to lead you in your world? And I like to tell people that if you really want to do web series, whether it's scripted or unscripted, it's just a small portion of what the work is. It's like, I like to say that if you want to be on the web, your video is a part of your startup company. And the rest of your company is creating community and creating interest and being able to, have a longevity and be out there with your audience constantly. And I break down a day for somebody. I'm like, so are you prepared to get up in the morning and for 2 hours in the morning do social networking and this and this and this, and then do press and target people and interact with your fans and know everybody on a personal level. Like, that's really what you have to do to me to make scripted content work and on the web. So I guess my advice is really think hard. Is web series really what I want to do? Okay, then your work starts after you make your videos.
Well, I mean, I'm not known for episodic scripted web content, but I don't know how it actually works outside of possibly the new YouTube backed channels, because how many people do you think you had working on the Guild at one point?
I mean, yeah, you're
Right.
I know where you're going, because
Right.
I've been doing some unscripted things, and I'm just like, whoa, why is this so easy? And then I have people come, like we have a lot of fans who are participating in our show, and they come on set on the Guild, on season 5 especially, which got crazy large, and they're like, oh, I thought it was just you and a camera. I'm like, no, it's 45 crew members, and we had 240 extras one day, and in order to do prep for this shoot, we have been working for 3.5 months, and I've done 5 rewrites on the script, and like, this was a year of my life doing this, to do this one video right now. It is so much larger to do scripted and harder.
Right, and so I mean, whether you have 45 or 5, it's very hard in the world right now, unless you get a sponsor that might want to change your content to actually do it, because there's really not, I mean, it's very hard to run a company on a insert blank CPM that's currently out there. So scripted, I don't really know. It's really easy to do unscripted, and so that's why I've done it. But I hope that I'm proven wrong by people like Bernie.
It's the cost per minute.
Thanks.
It's the cost per minute.
And to RJ, I don't disagree with you. I agree with you. As far as doing the general question of doing scripted on, say, YouTube, I mean, it comes down to like, well, the actual part of scripting is really cheap. You know, writing is cheap, right? It's the actual execution. So the way I look at it, and this is the way we're looking at it for Pride and Prejudice, is that we're looking at it as, okay, we're going to spend all this time adapting and writing, you know, the lines and the scenes and everything, but we can construct it into a very small canvas, like much not unlike the canvases that you do, right? Where it's really like, you know, a room or two, you know, and can you tell the story that way? So we're building the show to fit into the models that you're familiar with, all of us here, in the kind of the lower CPMs on YouTube, but we don't. The script, the story, and the world is constructed to the point where we can't even use 45 people. We couldn't fit them in that room. You know, if the room is small, like we could maybe use 5 people, and now the economics kind of makes sense now. You know, if you get a certain number of views, and then advertising dollars come in, then okay, you can maybe do it for a certain dollar amount. I know that Felicia and I ran into each other last night, and we were talking about, you know, can you do a $5,000 per video series on YouTube? Not really.
I mean, but here's an interesting thing that if I move to Austin or Portland or Seattle or Vancouver, I might be able to do a bigger scripted thing. It's just LA is very expensive to shoot scripted because the location fees, and everybody's jaded, and they're used to being paid $30,000 to rent just a house for the day, right? I mean, you can't be like, hey, I just need a restaurant. You write a restaurant scene, and it's like, okay, that has to happen. You can't shoot anywhere in LA. So to me, I think that's what's, you know, being outside sort of that LA or New York probably area is probably easier to do bigger productions scripted wise.
I would agree. Yeah,
Let's move, Bernie. Let's go.
Okay, we're out of here. Bye. We're gonna come here. We're already out of LA. Why aren't we shooting something?
So, how many of you have a scripted web series and you're wondering what to do with it? Like, or you have an idea for a scripted web series and you're wondering how to execute on it. So, for these people, what's your best advice? And you are not on YouTube now. Or you are on YouTube, kind of.
Well, kind of echoing back to Felicia's point when we opened, it's about the goal, right? So is the web the ultimate goal, right? If you're trying to keep it on the web and have it sustain on the web, then you have to go back to what I just said about making it cost effective and building the box where it's very contained. If the goal is something else where it's like, you don't care about the CPMs on YouTube, you want grand attention, you want to showcase that you're an amazing director, then the amount of views doesn't really matter. You know, it's who views it that matters. It's the agencies and the studios that view it that matter. So then it's a different cake where, you know, just make the best thing possible. But if you're trying to build it as a business, then you have to kind of go back to the construction of, like, you know, it's no different from film and TV, or not film, but TV, where they have to pump an episode out a week. They can't just make a $10 million episode of TV. They have to keep every episode at a, whatever it is, $1 million to $5 million range. And so they have to construct the show that way, which is why you can't do like The Matrix every week, you know, on a TV show. But you can do something like CSI, which is in a lab that they've built and just reused. It's kind of the same example, just much lower dollars. Does that kind of answer your question? Okay.
Anyone else want to chime in on that? So Felicia, when I talked to you, you talked a lot about community, and you really need to focus on building that audience and community. If you have an idea for something, what's the best way how do you start?
I mean, in general, I think the best way to start is, why am I doing what I'm doing? I mean, it's kind of a profound question. Like, why am I doing this? What am I gonna say that's unique? Why am I passionate about this for the reason of making it versus some end goal that I want to be famous or be known or just, you know, get free stuff? I mean, I think that's like really key. Like, I wanted to talk about gamers, and it's not like some grand philosophy that I started out, but I felt like, hey, I don't see anything about gamers, and I want to write something that I know about and I want to share with people. And of everything I do, I'm like, I feel like, hey, is this unique to me? Is this something I'm giving 100%? And do I really feel like there are going to be people out there who respond to what I'm talking about? I mean, I think that's the basis of scripted or non-scripted stuff. I mean, you look at YouTube, you know, stars, there are a lot of personalities, and they're based around personalities, but they're saying something that's unique and resonates with people in a way that they're not finding other places. And that should just be a universal concept. So if you're starting from that place, then at the end of the day, like, yeah, no matter what your end goals are, you know, it's going to be different work every time, but you are being fulfilled in a creative way because you know that you're doing something that's faithful to you. And, you know, even though you're making, in a theoretical world, you're like, well, next week 0 people are going to see this, but I want to tell this story. I mean, that's kind of a good touchstone. I mean, that's kind of the oovy groovy one that doesn't pay anybody's bills. But like, if you go back to that, you know, you could create something that, for me, I don't feel like I have a job. I feel like I'm living my passion every day, and I work harder than if I had a job most of the time. You know, I get up and I go to sleep and I'm working every single minute, but it doesn't feel like a job to me. And I guess to me, that's the ultimate goal in life, that I'm doing something that I'm sharing that's unique to me. And from the time I'm born to I'm dead, I'm doing something that nobody else can do.
And I think the key is to just get out and do it, because, you know, that's why YouTube allows you, it gives you the power to actually do that. Otherwise, you know, the Hollywood development process, scripts and notes, and it's a lot of talking and it's a lot of developing, but it's not people actually doing it. And, you know, you have a distribution platform that you can do that. And that was my background, was, you know, I had a concept for something I wanted to do. I just shot it. Through a friend of a friend, got to somebody at Showtime, you know, this was back in 2003, brought it to the acquisitions group, and they liked it, and they said, how many episodes do you have? I just literally had one, like, I didn't even know what was going with it, and I said, oh, you know, we have 13, we're in production right now. They go, great, we literally got an order for 13 episodes of a show that we had no plan to do more, and they didn't even exist. And then from that, you know, I was able to put it together, and one thing led to another, and then we had a long-term relationship with Showtime, and then it led to us working with other TV networks, from Fox, TV Guide Channel, and it just sort of snowballed. And the same thing happened when I launched Young Hollywood. You know, that was 2007. Had nothing, and I just figured, you know what, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to create a website. Actually connected with Bernie, who was very instrumental in helping us put together back at the end of 2006, 2007, had an idea. He put a lot of it together for us, and, you know, started hiring people and building a team. And then it sort of snowballed, and then it, you know, got us to where we are today. And even with YouTube, you know, we just started a channel on a very small scale, and then based on that, we built relationships with people on the Google team and YouTube team, and now that enabled us to actually become one of the actual channels that'll be launching soon.
Trivia note, I was literally there building the website for Young Hollywood Network.
Yeah. If you go to our site, the original CMS was put together by Bernie.
And seeing your sizzle reel with like the logo, the YHN, I was like, oh, that's what they changed to it. And I just remember the meetings that we had, like hours looking at 100 different, you know, iterations of that logo. And it's like, so that logo is like, you know, like burned in my brain. Like, right. Oh, here it is again. It's all come back. So anyway, side note.
But it goes back to just going out and doing it. That's what we did, and, you know, able us to get to where we are today.
So the title of this talk was actually Programming for YouTube. So what does that mean to you guys? I mean, what do you think programming successfully on YouTube looks like?
Yeah. Sure. You know, I think it's a very specific audience, and it's very niche oriented. You know, once you build that community, they know what they like, and it's catering to that. Whether it means, you know, a specific demo you're going after. I mean, that's a great thing with the tool set they give you and the YouTube Insights. You can see what the engagement looks like. You can see who your audience is. So I think it's key to really know that. And that's something, I mean, Phil's done a phenomenal job at, is knowing his audience, and that's why he has such a loyal following that, you know, that goes to it. And I think you have to look at it very different from traditional television, because again, it's a different mentality. You know, there's interactivity. You have comments right there. The minute you post something, your community is going to talk to you. They're going to tell you what they like, what they don't like. in our case, if there's a certain celebrity that's not resonating well, you know, they're going to rip them apart and say, you know, why are they there? And you can see certain ones. You know, it was funny. We were doing a search the other day, and like 90% of our content that showed up really high was vampire related for whatever reason. But whether it's somebody from Vampire Diaries or it's somebody from Twilight or, you know, the Taylor Lautners of the world, the Ian Somerhalders showed up. So it just shows you, you know, that really is our audience. It's that group that's going out and seeing those films. And CW, that's our audience too. People that are watching those shows. If we put a cast member from Gossip Girl, you know, it's going to go through the roof. And I think you really have to program that in mind and not just put up a random celebrity for the sake of doing it. Put something that you know your audience is going to respond to.
I mean, yeah, I think for me, it's probably, I mean, when I started in 2006, how many times has YouTube changed since then? And the only reason I've been able to grow and sustain and still thrive has been just adjusting to that change, whether it was taking advantage of flaws in a YouTube system or seeing little things like YouTube's big push towards playlists. So that means don't put end cards on things where there's 15 seconds of nothing really happening and there's an annotation. Put that maybe over your content where there's still something happening, there's something interesting, but once the content actually stops, then, you know, it goes to the next video, and realizing that a YouTube watch page or a channel page isn't the end-all be-all. I mean, the biggest thing for us has been realizing, you know, YouTube is huge on mobile. Most normal channels have, I think, a 25% watch rate as far as their audiences. We've pushed apps. Xbox Live has been a big help for us, but we're up at 51% mobile or on an Xbox system. And like, damn sure when Windows 8 comes out, there'll be a Philly D app, because you know, the less steps for people to watch your content, whether it be playlists or that initial click or view to watch that video after you have that person hooked into your audience, that's how you get really like lifers, people that really care about your content, and they always want to consume it anywhere, at any time.
Wow, that was awesome. Actually, question back to you, Phil, about that. So when you're pushing toward mobile and the app world, is that like a long-term goal for you to like really kind of push all your content to the app systems and stuff?
I think it's really just, it's a short-term loss if you think about it from an AdSense role. If money is your end goal, it's not what you want to do. My big thing is just people consuming the content. I mean, with our app, we focused on ad deals we have outside. We focus heavily on merchandise, which is actually double our revenue than what we make from either AdSense or third-party sponsorships. And yeah, I think it is a long-term thing. I just want to be anywhere and everywhere where it's easiest, because, you know, people don't always have time to sit down at their computer.
Of course.
I think the big thing for mobile is going to be playlists actually working properly, and not having to pay a developer to make playlists work properly.
I'd be curious, how are you utilizing, you mentioned e-commerce and merchandise, how are you tying that into your whole YouTube experience, and how's that been?
I saw all the merchandise companies out there, and it's kind of why I started the news show. I saw a lot of things that I thought were okay or kind of and I started my own merchandise company. So I sell my products. We work with graphic designers now, kind of going almost the threadless model, not really that social yet. Working with a few YouTubers, Charles Strippy, Toby Turner, and just, you know, I think the thing is, a lot of YouTubers didn't think how beneficial merchandise was, because they were, I don't like to say ripped off, they weren't making as much money as they could have. But if you're working with the right company, it's huge. It's huge. And the people that want to champion you and they want to throw your brand on an iPhone or anything, you know, they want that for them, but it's great that that money actually goes to supporting the content creator so they can keep making more and more stuff.
That's great. So we do have a mic over there. If you guys want to start thinking of questions, we can start taking them. So content creators as brands. So we have, Phil, you've been successful since 2006, and you're a personality who's also becoming a brand, right? So for Felicia and Bernie, you've been on the platform and, you know, had some success, but you've never liked, you're not a personality on YouTube where you do a daily vlog or you do a, you know, an episodic show. For people starting out, should they just, even if they want to be more episodic, should they just start as a personality? Or should they, you know, stay true to what they want to be, or is it just all individual? Like in 2006, should you have started Felicia Day and started to be a personality, or is that really not what your vision was?
I mean, I would argue to say that definitely the success of the Guild has been because I have been a personality behind my show, and not in a literal sense that I'm being myself in front of a camera until this point, but you know, when I started the show and I was the driving force behind the show, I was the one who personally said every blog entry, I responded to all the YouTube comments. I started on YouTube, and the Guild started on YouTube, and we grew and became big on YouTube. And because of at the time, the financial, you know, I moved to Xbox and got an amazing working relationship with them for years. But having started on YouTube, I learned what makes something successful or not on the internet, and I think it's reflected of what makes something successful on YouTube is that the community comes first. And having interacted with everybody every day on YouTube, I maintain that connection by finding, you know, new ways to interact with people like Twitter and Facebook. And you know, this was, you know, I was pretty early using those services as a tool, but that allowed me to maintain my connection with my community in a way that didn't feel like I took the show away and they couldn't interact with it, you know? So, you know, in approaching everything I do, you know, I'm always kind of the personality behind my show, and I think that it definitely is advantageous to have sort of an advocate and an insight and a person to sort of latch onto, because there's so much content to consume. We just tend to be like, oh, that sucked. And you don't really think, hey, Transformers X sucked. Well, I have no personality to really think about the process of making that movie and what, you know, and I think that there is a different way of consuming on the web that you relate to that process a little bit more. Yeah. So, you know, that's what I love about doing stuff on the web. I never want to have a situation where I'm just feeding an anonymous mass a piece of content. Like, that's why I haven't done a TV show or you know, a movie or something. The reason I get up in the morning is to interact with my audience and to have that one-on-one connection. And I think that's what, you know, obviously is demonstrated on the YouTube platform, that is where success lies. And were the economics easier for scripted, and you could release an episode every single week for a year, you know, it's just, that would probably be reflected in the same kind of success or a similar success to some of the more grassroots personality-driven things that are, you know, what YouTube is perceived as being.
Yeah. So Phil, what would your advice be to somebody who maybe didn't want to be in front of the camera being a personality but wanted to launch a series? How would you do it?
I have no idea. I'm just going to be honest.
I have an answer for you. And this is going to go back to actually working with RJ way back in 2007 when again, my observations, and you can please counter this, okay, if I remember something wrong. When he was starting Young Hollywood, and RJ was a host at the time. He would also host rather, and he would be the correspondent a lot. But it wasn't. He had the goal in mind. It was all about Young Hollywood. It wasn't about RJ Williams being Young Hollywood. It was about Young Hollywood. So when the time came, he would have the logo up, and we'd have other hosts come in and do the interviews and everything like that. It wasn't about I'm the brand. No, it's Young Hollywood's a brand. So if you go take that now in today's era, you can look at it from a perspective of what's the brand? Is it the show? Is it you? Is it, you know, and then that goes back to what we said in the beginning, the goals, right? What's the goals? The goal is to get Young Hollywood big, right? The goal is to speak to your audience as Felicia Day. The goal is, you know, the Philly D as a personality, I assume. I mean, and you try stuff. You know, seeing, you know, Phil evolve over the year, even just the year, he'll try something and it was like, nah, that's not really working the way I want it to, and you change. I think that's correct, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, okay, so, and so he evolves, but it's still about the brand being, in this case, him, or in his case, Young Hollywood, the show. And so, speaking to someone out there, out here in the audience, who wants to start from scratch, you think about what is that long-term goal? Is it to create this hub of entertainment that you can eventually pour it off into like a TV show if that's the goal, or you create like this grand story world where like I'm just using The Matrix for example because that's all I'm thinking about for some reason, and then it becomes a movie. It starts off as this viral or vloggy series about you're in the Matrix, and then becomes this big movie. Then sure, then you've achieved your goal. So I think that you have to look. Especially in this area with the channels now, you really have to look long term. You can't just you can evolve and experiment, but you have to have that plan, and that plan can change. But you have to have that plan from day one. It's like what is the pie in the sky? And what is that? The moonshot. What is that going to be? What does that look like to you? Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you hit it right on.
So we have a question.
Sorry. Hi, my name is Philip Oller. I'm from the Contemporary Institute of Arts in Detroit. I'm currently the chairman of the arts organization. Now, what's happened is about a year ago, the group had an idea to create a talk show which is going to go over the internet. And the main goal was to counter the CNN interview about Detroit, because CNN went to Detroit for a year, they lived there and they came out with a whole bunch of stuff. So the locals were not happy about it, so they wanted to do their own content. So that's how it started, so we gave them permission, and they went away and they shot some really good episodes. So they shot 12 episodes, and they've currently edited about 60%. And so they're kind of finished with that. So my question is, what is the next steps for this? Because these guys are all very creative, very artistic. I'm business-minded. I'm more of a scientist, trying to keep these guys in check. So they want to do great things and all this fun stuff, which they're doing. But what happens when they finish those videos? Because most of them are just finished now. They're not anywhere. They're just on disk drives. I think there's some of them up on Blip TV. There's no order to it. There's no coordination. But it's really good content, some really good interviews, good bands. It's very well put together. So my question really is, what is the next step to try and get these videos? Let me tell you what I care about. As the chairman of the organization, I care about the brand of the organization. And I know the videos do that. And I also care about money, because we are non-profit. We somehow have to make money from these things. So my question is, what is the next step to try and get what they've done in a creative manner to make sense from a business point of view, from a views point of view? And another thing that they're trying to do is they're now moving from that, and they're trying to convert the whole studio into a cooking studio, so they can record some cooking shows. They're driving me crazy. I need to put some structure to what they're doing. So I just want to know if the panel have any suggestions as to what we should do now that we've actually got to the state where we've created content. Does that make sense?
Well, okay, so that was a lot of stuff.
I know.
I didn't understand anything.
But so I know that you said they're creatives, you're business-minded, money, and there was one more thing.
We're cooking.
The cooking.
The cooking. But what is the goal? I mean, I know it's a nonprofit. You started off and it sounded like you wanted to convey a different viewpoint.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the next step, it seems like if the content's polished, you'd put it out there and start marketing it. If you want to be the counter CNN, look for bigger groups out there. Would Huffington Post? I don't know. I don't really use mainstream news sources.
I guess my question, to clarify, I'd like to know, like, you said you had like 12 videos or so already done.
They've shot 12. They wanted to do a whole series. I assume the series is 12. Sure.
But is there more?
I hope not.
You hope not. Okay, so that's it. 12 and done.
You're done.
Okay, 12 and done. All right. So then you need to find someone to pay you for the content. I would assume if you look as a business-minded person, you'd want money coming back, right, for those 12 videos.
Yeah, what do you guys do with your content, for starters?
Well, I mean, I think all of us are looking to create more content, which is the difference between what we're doing and what it sounds like you have already.
No, I want them to do more content, but I do want them to figure out, to structure it better, to actually figure out where it's going on, if it's going on the internet. Where is it going on the internet? Do they want a YouTube channel? Do they want a Blip TV? Because it's in different places.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's...
If I can interject, they definitely want a YouTube channel.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we're there.
Okay. You know, I have a pretty strong point of view on that. I mean, I think when you have content, there are 3 different ways you can go looking about distribution. And it's not just content, it's internet in general. There's one where you are the destination. So you create Facebook and that's your play, that you want everybody to go to your site and that's where they're really going to consume it. The second way is where you're piggybacking on an existing distribution network, similar to what Zynga's done with their gaming. You know, there isn't Zynga.com that you're going to. You're going to Facebook or all these other places that enable it, but Zynga's just sort of utilizing their backbone and their distribution. Or there's a Netflix approach, where you're everywhere. You're on every device, every platform. You're on the iPad, you're on the iPhone. In our case, when I was looking at that, I realized, why can't you do all three? There weren't really anybody else out there in the space that was doing it. Everyone was sort of doing one or the other, and that's what we've done. We've created younghollywood.com, which is our distribution revenue source right there. We have advertisers that are advertising there, you know, separate P&L, everything is individual on that. We've done the Zynga approach, which is what YouTube is to us. We've utilized the best platform in existence today. They have all the tools, they'll have a stronger website than we ever can, and they have the audience. So, you know, we have our relationships with them and our channel, which is what we've created, you know, with the Young Hollywood Network, that, you know, there's separate ad sales around that, total separate business, separate budget for that, complete separate revenue stream. And then the third approach, which is a Netflix approach, that we have distribution partners with numerous people. We have content on Yahoo, TV Guide, AOL, Ask Men. So I think you could really look at those three streams and decide, do you just want to do one of those approaches, or do you want to try and tackle them all? And there's a different strategy and a different approach you have to go depending on which way you want to go with it.
Okay, that's good. One quick follow-on for that.
Sure.
So is it better to distribute the content as it's made, or as it's polished, or wait until the end and then shove it all out there?
It depends on what the content is.
And also how long it takes to produce an episode. Because you said you have 12, so I mean, if it's a week of work per episode, I mean, you could technically launch and try to generate some traffic, and then just keep posting, editing, and seeing if it picks up.
Thank you.
You're
so
welcome.
Thank you for your question. So that's a great question. When you just start out, how do you first capture attention? Like if you choose to make, if you have, you know, 12 episodes of something, and you go to YouTube and you upload it, if it's good, will people just find it? I mean, I know we have the playbook, youtube.com/playbook. You might want to download that. Will be great help for you.
I would say that's a must download for anybody who's looking to go into the platform.
Yeah. So that youtube.com/playbook. So I have 12 series in the can. I upload my first. Well, Felicia, what did you tell me? 98% of my work is left to do.
It's after. Yeah, it's 98% of your work is after you upload it. But you know, I think, and I don't know if this is the same now, because the Guild was in 2007, was on YouTube, but for 11 months, we released episodes, one a month. And like, that's completely counterintuitive, because a lot of people just like, I gotta upload every single day, I gotta upload every single day. But you can't think that every single eyeball is gonna somehow know on Tuesday at 12 you uploaded something. Like, that was a lot of work. Like, I uploaded episode 1 and we're like, we'll do one a month. And that actually, in retrospect for the show, was hugely valuable, because that gave me 28 days from the first to the second episode to go out to the internet and bring my, go reach out to my internet and say, hey, gamers, this blog. People who read this blog will like my show. And then, bringing a lot of audience who I thought might like that to the, YouTube. And then people on YouTube found it. And we were featured. Really, the show really took off when we were featured, but in episode 3, they put the first 3 episodes of the Guild on the front page. And I got, tons of emails like, hey, you're on the front page of YouTube. I'm like, what? I was so excited, So it could be, obviously YouTube has evolved a lot. There are other things, but that once a month strategy worked hugely for a show where, as a scripted show, we couldn't put out an episode a week economically and be able to consistently put out content long enough for audience to find us, because it really is a marathon. It's a huge commitment, and even if you have huge stars in web series, people don't automatically find that web series and make it hugely popular. It requires a lot of outreach and organic, finding your community, finding the people who will tell their friend who might like your show too. It's creating a network of people, and it's a long-term commitment versus a short-term just, gimme.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on. It's creating the network of people. I mean, I think that is crucial, is finding like-minded individuals in the YouTube community that you can partner up with and team up with and help cross-promote. And that's something we're really doing with these YouTube channels. I mean, there are, a dozen or so people. We recently had a cocktail party. We got everybody together to figure out how can we cross-promote to really work together, which I think is very different than the traditional television model. Because if you're on a network, the shows aren't really working together. Everybody's on their own. You want your pickup. You don't want to get canceled. You only care about that. And I think it's very different in these YouTube channels, that to succeed you need to work together. There's several content providers that they're going to use our content. They're going to be talking about stuff and they'll reference, our friends at Young Hollywood recently had such and such celebrity there, and vice versa. And I think you should look at that whenever you're doing that, is who can you team up with? If you can get someone like Felicia or Phil to talk about or link out to it, I mean, that's huge. I mean, the value that brings is unbelievable. And it goes back to what you were saying, Phil, with the e-commerce. You're helping a few of the other people in the community that have channels with their e-commerce strategy. And I think that's what's so unusual with the YouTube environment that you just don't see anywhere else.
Yep. And so, Bernie, would it be fair to tell this gentleman that if his short-term goal is to pay the bills, he should rethink his goals?
Well, yeah, probably. Again, I don't really know exactly what the content is. But if you're doing the old I'm assuming, say, feature film length content chopped up into 12 pieces, then you should, I would assume, keep that under wraps and not release it at all, and try to find a distributor to pay you for it. Whether that be through the film festival circuit or through meetings or through the agencies and stuff like that. Because it's like, if you put it on YouTube, then it's out there, people can see it, but how many will really see it? Unless you have some fire hose shooting to it.
So I would get a YouTube channel, download the playbook, meet all the YouTubers in the Detroit area. We had someone from our Next Up program who was from Detroit, and just start talking, right? But it's, these people have been at it for years, so it's not a short-term success. You can forget the film festival. That's not going to work. So you had a question?
First things first, thank you. Question for you. There was a time in the Stone Age when we talked about big screen, small screen, feature film, television. And with the arc of technology sort of racing along, I'm not so sure that big screen isn't supposed to be tablet and small screen is phone. So my question is, one or both of you shared that 51% of the audience is on mobile, which kind of matches up with Facebook's stats too. Have you given a lot of thought, any thought to creating a show because of either the format limitations or some of the advantages that come along with it, specifically for smartphones, mobile, handset?
So the limitations, I'm guessing, if you agree with me, panel, the limitations are small screen. You can't control the environment. Like in a theater, you're going to control environment. For the phone, you're not. Potential interactivity because you can touch the screen, and I don't know. What else am I thinking about? Well, mobile limitations.
The flip side of that, on the positive side, you can start building some assets for interactive. So I can interact with my audience. I can get them to ping back.
Sure.
I could do. You mentioned merchandising. I do credit card transactions, merchandising on the phone. So to some extent, particularly from the merchandising, the revenue side, it could be a little more interactive than some of the assets that come along with the PC.
Short answer is yes. Well, I know I am. I'm sure Phil is. Right? Planning for that. I mean, the idea of you have a piece of video, whatever it is, on your mobile phone, whether it be in an app or on a YouTube player, an HTML5 player. Ideally, at some point, you want to be able to interact with that video, push a button that's on something to send you somewhere else to maybe buy a shirt. Right. Yes, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. And then for consumption on mobile, you also, I mean, I don't know about people in the room. I think I'm an early adopter, but I've never watched the entire movie on my phone. I just feel it's an awful experience. Yeah. But I've watched content from all three of these guys on my phone, because it's generally short content. And so if you're constructing for short content, or what we call short form in the industry, then yes, of course, then we are doing that.
I don't think the business model's there yet, though. I think it's absolutely the future, and 2-3 years from now, there'll be a huge business there. But on the digital side, we work with a lot of major advertisers. Coca-Cola's been a client for a while, Samsung, Electronic Arts, and every time we try and push them into doing something on mobile, it's very challenging. The dollars just aren't there yet. You know, you can get little pre-rolls here and there, but it's really hard to do the integrations. Everyone's so focused right now, you know, in the online space. Whereas, you know, back in 2007 when we launched, to get a brand to do an integration was so difficult. Now it's easy. Everyone's carved out the budget. You know who to talk to, and you know, it's so much easier now to get brands. Mobile's the same thing. I think, you know, 2014, 2015, they'll have dedicated budgets. They'll really be there. But it was interesting. One of the brands we work with recently hired someone, and their sole role is their social media budget. And you know, people always spent in social media, but it just sort of rolled up into digital. This person, you know, major brand, hundreds of millions of dollars they spend, and they have someone that's just working on the Facebook, working on the Twitter, and mobile falls in that group. So I see in a couple of years from now, there'll be direct buys, it's just mobile, and it's very targeted, and that's what they want.
In 08, I rolled out a social media company, and it was like breaking your pick to get a corporation to look at you. And within 18 months, we had 60 corporate sponsors.
Yep.
So I don't know what that half-life looks like. 18 months might be long. Thanks.
Yeah. You got it.
Thanks.
Hello, my name is Doug, and I have thank you for being here. I just started a YouTube show, and I'm trying to interview people, and I just wanted to see if there was any advice that each of you had on how to do it correctly, or especially the young Hollywood speaker, if you have any advice on interviewing celebrities, and if after this panel I can interview any of you.
Go, RJ.
There we go. You know, it goes back to what I said, you just got to do it. I mean, it's get out there, start sending content. Nobody wants to be first. Everyone wants to see what you've done. So, you know, hopefully you'll have some sort of relationship or some way you can get to somebody. And once you get a couple, then you create a sizzle reel similar to what you saw. And then you're able to send that out to publicists and managers. And, you know, they'll see sort of how you've been embraced by some other people, and then they'll want to be a part of it. And it just sort of, you know, takes on a life of itself. And celebrities are everything nowadays. It doesn't have to be a mainstream star, because it's going to be hard. If you want to get, you know, whoever, Justin Bieber, it's not going to be the easy person to get to right now. But there's certain, yeah, he is, you're right. Go on the CES floor and you might find him. But there's certain people in niche audiences. Maybe it's, you know, UFC fighting and you're getting one of the UFC fighters, or something, or certainly the YouTube community. You know, there's certain ones that are just starting there. You know, start with that, and then I think it'll be a snowball effect.
So RJ, how would you say he could get a celebrity? Like, what steps at a smaller size would help him out? Because I mean, I have a large channel, I don't even know.
Right. It's challenging. I mean, it's definitely a harder place to start. You want to start by creating content and having good content, and then once you have that, then I think you could expand into it. But if you don't have a track record and you haven't actually produced anything, it's tough, because everyone's time is very limited, and you know, they're only going to really want to work with the top tier ones to start. So it's just create content that isn't necessarily celebrity focused, but it's interviewing people. And then once they see your personality and that, you know, you're a good interviewer and you have good content, then, you know, hopefully you'll land one. And then once you get one, you know, it sort of, as I said, it just really will be that snowball effect.
Here's my advice with it. I mean, if I would say try to improve what you can control. You can control how good of an interview you are, whether you're interviewing RJ or Felicia or your buddy. Yeah. You know, and especially if you're on camera with them, you just work at getting better at that one thing, and then that will eventually shine. And then down the road, if you're really going to go the celebrity route, I think we just kind of started going down that route in this conversation. I'm not sure if that's the goal. But if you were, then I would think if you're in like Hollywood, like there's events all the time. There's like red carpet events every day. Yeah. And so, you know, if you find out with something and you go like, hey, I want to be a correspondent on your red carpet, you may not get great A-listers, but you'll work your way up, and if you're a great interviewer, if you're a great host, then that will show in your content, and slowly you'll build up. You'll get that one, you know, supporting star on Vampire Diaries, sure, right? And then that will build. You're like, oh, there's that guy, and he's great at what he does, and he's interviewed that kind of, you know, C-list star. Let's get him a B-list person interview. You know, as if I'm the manager of the B-list person, and so forth. You'll build up that way. So I would say, short note, get better at what you can control yourself.
Okay, will you be my first interviews after?
Don't see why not.
Because you're celebrities in my world, so I mean.
Yes.
Yes? Thank you.
I wanted to make a comment though, because I mean, you know, I'm very wary of celebrity things personally. It's not my thing. But I mean, what is it, you know, people, I'm sure that you get asked to interview all the time. Like, people want to interview you, you know, people ask a lot, and it's hard for, you know, I get a lot of requests, and I can't do everything. I mean, I'm not talking to you right now. Yes, that's fine.
Thank you.
I'm just saying, in general, like, you know, people who are celebrities get asked to do things all the time. It's constant.
Yeah.
And what is it that you're gonna offer that's unique? Like, do you have a unique perspective? Do you do something that's different? Do you do something that's maybe fun to somebody? It's like, hey, nobody ever asked me to do that. Like, those are the things. What is it that you, as an artist, even if it's an interviewer, like, what are you offering that's different from everybody else? And that will help, you know, get audience, not because you just, hey, you just happen to interview The Rock, but it's like, hey, you do something really fun every week that I don't care who that guy's interviewing. You're doing something unique, and I think, you know, that's the key to your longevity, and also just, you know, building something long term. Think about yourself versus just like the interview things.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Hi, could you guys discuss in content creation and then pre and post upload, converting views to subscribers?
Converting views to subscribers, right?
Views to subscribers.
Okay, views to subscribers. Go ahead.
No, I think it's, I mean, that's, I think, just, I know you were saying like once a month. The reason I have as many subscribers as I do was just because I was one of the first tubers to actually stick to a schedule where people were like, oh, okay, yeah, no, he's going to pop up on my feed all the time. And having interesting content-ish. I'm trying to think, what else? Anyone want to help me? Because I walked into a wall.
Asking?
Yeah, you could ask one.
Asking, yes.
Asking, yeah. Call to action. Call to actions. Does that still work?
I mean, do they want to see more? Like, I think you get people invested in you. Like,
Right.
I mean, for the guild, people knew that I couldn't make more unless they donated through PayPal. I mean, I just wasn't going to be able to make more. You know, it's harder. Like, we go back to a lot of people are scripted, $1 per minute. How do you make good scripted, you know, on par with something that's a little bit more affordable? And, you know, I think there is a traditional, before we end, I did want to say something. There is a traditional, and being an IAWTV menu and having been on YouTube and going, you know, doing something on YouTube now, there's a weird sort of barrier between scripted people and YouTube people. And it's kind of like the unspoken thing in the room. Like, there's a little, it's almost like, not snobbery, but it's just like a big wall. Like, for some reason, scripted people are resentful because they feel like they work really hard to do this elaborate thing, and then this person on YouTube gets millions of views for something that looks easy, quote unquote. Not easy, all right? So this is the elephant in the room on a panel like this. So
I think that's the first time anyone ever said that, but yeah.
Is it?
It's really,
at least on a panel.
It's really bad. Let's just talk about it, because, you know, there's a perceived jealousy on both parts. Like, I'm sure, you know, not having been in the YouTube world that much, there is a perception that, like, they don't think we work hard enough, which is completely ridiculous. And then
there are a group of people talking about that just outside. You know, how you guys don't,
right
don't work hard enough.
Why aren't they getting in this room?
Yeah, no. But, like, it's interesting because we can learn from each other. Like, it is two different requirements to make the piece of content that we will, you know, scripted people upload or non-scripted people upload. But just as much work, and the fundamentals of being successful on the web and on YouTube are probably similar. You know, your community, you're talking to your community, you're involving your community, you're giving people consistent content. You're creating a place where the video is an excuse to interact with other people who are watching that video. It's much more complicated than just kind of feeding people content. And I think we could, you know, one of my kind of goals and one of my things that I would really love is that if we could take that sort of barrier down and learn from each other and know that we're all making something in a new format and we can learn from each other and just hold hands, guys. But anyway, there's probably a deeper insight into it, but yeah.
No, it's a great point you brought up, and I think it's very true. And I think this new YouTube initiative actually is going to help that, and that's the first step in that direction. Because you look, you know, you have producers like Lauren Michaels, who now has a channel, and you know, Bernie's working with Anthony, who created CSI. So these are major television players that are now in the YouTube community, and they have channels just as Phil has, or just as Felicia has, or just as Young Hollywood has. So it's the first initiative that's putting everyone together. You know, there are 100 or so of these channels, but they're all different walks of life, and it's a very eclectic background. Then you have, you know, talent like Jay-Z and Madonna and Ashton Kutcher and Pharrell, and then you have, you know, major publications like Wall Street Journal and Hearst, and then you have, you know, major companies like Fremantle, and it's just interesting because it's the first time all of them come together, and I think it now says content is content. It's not about being on television. It's not about being on the internet. It's content. It's multi-platform, that what we're all creating with this Young Hollywood, you know, network, you're going to create everywhere, because now with connected television, we're on TV. So we now have a television show. How is it any different? You know, it's going to be on your iPad. It's going to be on your iPhone. It's going to be all over the place. It's going to be mobile, as we discussed earlier. And I think it's the first initiative in a major way. A lot of people have done it on a small scale, but obviously it's a huge investment that Google's made into this, and it's the best of class that they've put together for it. You know, it's going to revolutionize what content is today, I think.
So wait, going back to the man's question about going views to subscribers, to clarify the whole call to action thing, it's I don't know if you still do this, Phil, but like I remember a lot of the YouTubers would at the end of the video say, hey, if you like this video, and they would point to the air, and there would be a button there, and it would say subscribe, and you can see more when you'll get notified when we have a new video. And it's not not just the personality YouTubers are doing it too, it's actually the scripted YouTubers are doing it as well. So there's a channel called Reckless Tortuga, which is top 80, I believe, in the top 100. And they all do scripted content. It's all episodic. I mean, it's comedic, and it's a story-based channel. But at the end of each episode, they come on as themselves, as the actor, and go, hey, everybody, thanks for watching this video, and just kind of talk to the audience and ask them to subscribe or favorite or like and do these things. So it's not like out of the blue for even a scripted channel to just ask for that request, to say, hey, if you want to see more, please do X. So.
Yeah, and I think that's actually, I feel, less about the call to action. It's more about showing there is a personality behind everything. It's really, really important. YouTube is 90% personality based. Like, very few people could get away with just throwing out really cool stuff, like if they didn't feel a connection to the person behind everything. Because I feel like with you, they feel connected with either you or several of the characters. Tony on Black Box TV at the end of the videos.
Yeah, he comes out and says, yeah.
Because I think people want that connection online.
Agreed.
So as a benchmark, YouTube is 6 years old. We get 800 million monthly uniques, and now 60 hours of video every minute. So
we were looking for that updated number.
I know, I just got
60
it
now.
today.
60, got it.
So, but there's a sense that something really different is going to happen in 2012, a lot of part because of this new initiative. So what changes, what stays the same, and if you could change anything, what would you do?
Wait, what are we changing? Us or you?
Yeah, no. We can get as personal as you'd like, Brent.
Okay.
So why don't you start with that?
So, since we're talking about YouTube, I guess what I'd like to see is YouTube right now. The site feels very sticky to me, and I'd like it to be able to kind of go. The annotation system, especially, I feel is such a ripe way of interacting and feeling connected to the video. I'd like to be able to do more seamlessly than just connect to other videos and within the system. I understand the ecosystem of YouTube may not serve YouTube, the company, for that, but as a creator, I'd like to see that, And at the same time, I'd like to see the kind of nested home apps on many of the OSs, the mobile OSs, have a as robust an annotation system as the platform does online.
I think more features, once again, on mobile, several other devices. The new Google TV has a really nice YouTube experience, but it's still not there. The Xbox app obviously just came out. It needs a lot of reworking as far as subscriptions. It's really cool for playlists and finding most liked. Did I mention mobile ads? I think I might have done that twice or 3 times. That would have been good. And subscriptions working 90% of the time.
Yeah. So how do you think the original programming initiative is going to impact like the whole YouTube ecosystem?
I mean, I think it's really interesting. I'm excited because at the end of the day, if you look at it, everybody's starting from ground zero with their new channel. And that's really interesting. And to me, it's going to be interesting to see who has a huge subscriber base off the bat, how their subscribers will be transferred, how that long, there'll probably be a huge, a big initial bump, but will some of the bigger celebrities like outpace the subscription as you grow? Will it be something crazy that somebody thinks of that will be a huge success that nobody thought about and nobody's done before? I mean, to me, that experimentation is the exciting thing. I mean, I'm doing some shows that I don't think anybody's ever done anything, and I have full faith that I think people are gonna really love it. But that's the fun thing, and why I don't gamble. I do maybe $1 on kitty glitter, slot machine out there. But I'm not a gambler myself, but I get my gambling thrill when I release a video, because I can't wait to see what people love. And I've made stuff that's been really, really successful, and I've made stuff that was hugely hard and not successful. And every single video I thought was the best that I could do. But it is an amazing grand democracy to send a video out and just see what flows to the top, because there is a democracy to it. No matter how many ad dollars you put behind it, no matter how many stars you put on it, there is a certain thing, like something surprising will happen that's more popular than anything that bet on. And that's why I do what I do, and why I love what I do. And I hope that if it's not my channel, and it'll be a lot of channels, hopefully it's my channel too, but a lot of things will come out and break the format even more, but be more resonant with the audience, because they want something that isn't there yet. And I think this initiative might give it to them.
I think it was interesting. YouTube made a very conscious decision from the beginning how they were going about doing it, and they made it very clear, like, they're the platform, which is a very different approach than many others. When they do it, they get very involved in the creative and notes and whatnot. YouTube's the greatest platform on the planet. It's got the best distribution. We all know the technology behind it. Us as content creators, we understand audience, and we understand what our audience wants to see. So they're really giving us a lot of power with that, which is unusual. And it lets us experiment, exactly as Felicia just said, which you normally can't do. So you can try things, and it's, essentially we're in control of our own network. If a show's not working, we have our show, Studio Secrets, on Monday. We give it 3-4 weeks, and the views aren't there, the subscribers aren't there. We pull it from our schedule, we have backups. So it really is just like a traditional television network, except the difference is the network isn't necessarily canceling it. You as the content producer are canceling your own shows. You're improving your own shows. So there's a lot of pressure, but I think it's gonna make you really go the extra mile, because you really are in control of your destiny. If you work at it hard, you really play up to your community, you're gonna get the audience, and if you don't, you're not. And as far as what we like to change, I would love to just see a way that you could create something just for your subscribers. I'd love a way that if you have a custom piece of content, that only people that subscribe to your channel are able to see that. And I think it enables you to do giveaways or contests or extra content that if you want to see, you have to be part of that community.
Hey guys, how you doing? Thanks for being here. My name is Cristiano Cavino. I run an ad agency in LA called Mischievous Studios. We create commercials, but we also create viral and branded content, including web series for brands. We have our second web series. We have 2 out right now. One's coming out for a brand called Peapod Mobile, in which they gave us the budget and we went out and kind of did our own thing with the characters. The second one was for Intel. They actually flew us here. They gave us this guy, Doug, to interview, to shoot with. He's going to be our second series. Everything we've done so far has been funded by the brands themselves and funded by the corporate infrastructure, the original old school ad buy system. Some of you up here have done that kind of style, and some of you up here have actually asked for microfinance from your audience, or asked for money from your audience in terms of merchandise or what have you. Can you guys talk about the benefits and detriments to the two, and also what are the benefits and detriments of we're kind of weary to ask our audience for money to provide the content that we're giving them. Can we talk about the benefits and detriments of asking your audience to essentially pay a premium or pay for the content that you're providing to them?
Wow, that was a big one.
I mean, they're all different. I mean, it just depends on the content, I think, at the end of the day. I mean, what are you making? How much does it cost per minute? How fast can you make it? Why would somebody want to give you money? I mean, I think that, like Kickstarter is great, but what is a scale that is achievable on Kickstarter? It's not anything elaborately scripted, that's for sure. You know, trying to press the envelope on the scripted side, you know, certainly start to see the financing at the end of the seams. So there's only so much you can do on that, you know. So maybe $100,000 or $50,000 is doable, but what do you do with that? How can you stretch that to make what it is you're making? And I guess that's the scale, you know, of crowdsourcing. And then, you know, obviously brands are a whole different, you know, that's a whole different ballpark. A lot of the times it seems to me nowadays they just want to develop something from the ground up. It's not like, you know, the Guild was very, you know, unique in that we were already established and a sponsor was willing to jump on board and distribute it, and then a new distributor, you know. So it's interesting. I think it's constantly changing with who has money to give you in a sense and what their goals are. So I guess it all comes down to content.
Yeah. As far as, like you were saying, the ups and downs of merchandise, there's really not a downside because they're getting something they want and they're also funding something they love. But on the other side, sponsors, I mean, I'm here at CES thanks to Ford, but I've only worked with 2 big brands in the past 8 months because a lot of them, you know, they want to control the content, especially with something that's already established. But, you know, we are very selective, but it's also because we're in a fortunate position of people that understand, hey, you want to do something a little extra cool that you wouldn't be able to do without us, and then they throw money and then hope for the best.
Hey guys. So I want to just ask a quick question about the challenges of the YouTube original channels. A lot of the contracts say that you have to put a massive amount of content in exchange for a large amount of cash. Do you think that all of the channels, particularly traditional channels or even like the one-man shows like the Mike Divas or Day Storms, do you think that all those channels are going to be able to fulfill their contractual obligations?
You're asking us or you're asking Margaret?
Don't look at me, I don't know.
I'm asking the group. I'm facilitating discussion.
I'm a believer, I'm an optimist. What do you think, RJ?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, everyone knew what they were getting themselves into when they, you know, chose to be a part of this. And they'd be foolish if they didn't. I mean, it's an amazing opportunity that's going to revolutionize media. You know, it's like liking it back to cable several years ago. You know, if you had that piece of real estate, once you own that real estate, you know, you're the first to market, you're still there. You know, the CNNs of the world, the MTVs of the world, they've been there a long time. Not all cable channels have lasted. Some have failed miserably. So if you're one of those that, you know, can't fulfill your obligation, then, I mean, yes, of course, YouTube's going to be upset, but it's not about that. Your audience is going to be upset. How are you going to have sticky content and build an audience if you're not uploading on a regular basis? If you're not, you know, certainly weekly, and in our case, we're doing it daily, they want to see something new every day. It's like, imagine if you're watching TV and you go to MTV and, oh, we don't want to air today, we're turning off the network, we'll be back next week. Nobody's going to go back to MTV. So this is no different. You need to refresh your content.
All right. So do we want to give everyone our last best piece of advice? We're about out of time, or prediction for 2012. Bernie, do you want to kick it off?
Piece of advice?
Your last best piece of advice.
My last best piece of advice. I think we've given a lot of advice.
I know. Well, you know, you guys are the oracles here.
Oh, jeez. Oh man, I'm trying to think of something new that we haven't already said.
You said a lot of good stuff, guys.
Yeah.
You've really been wise. This is
Prediction.
Okay, prediction. All right.
Prediction.
So, well, I mean, I won't take the political answer for Woody's question. I believe there has to be someone who just doesn't get it, doesn't hit it, who just didn't quite see what they were getting into. But that's, you know, I don't know who that is. I do believe that everyone who's worked on YouTube before, like all the YouTube personalities that are familiar with the platform, will all hit their obligations. Like they'll do it because they already know how to do it. You know, it's just kind of the other ones. We'll see. As far as, and then of course you'll find other ones who come in who will do it bigger and better. As far as advice to, I guess, general content creation, yeah, I think it goes back to the note we did about 30 minutes ago about content is content, and going back to Felicia's about the scripted versus unscripted, it's all kind of entertainment. It's like we're in the entertainment business, you know? So we're here to entertain. So what you do, whether it be painting, whether it be reporting on the news, whether it be writing an Academy winning screenplay, you're all about entertainment, and you're kind of all competing against each other for the eyeballs. And so my advice to that is that serve the audience that you care about and you want to get, and really don't care about the ones you don't. So as an example, I'm going to guess that Phil doesn't really care about the mom audience as much as the gamer audience, if you would have put them together. So like if someone were to come up to Phil and say, well, my mom doesn't watch your show, you wouldn't care.
Yeah, that'd be correct.
Yeah. So and some artists get offended when you go like, oh, I don't watch your show, and they're like, oh my God, why don't you watch my show? I'm like, well, I'm not the audience. So I think it just
you're too busy. I mean, there's a lot of content out there, and like people will watch it when they're gonna watch it. And if you make something that's that somebody's gonna want to watch a couple months later, then you're probably doing all right.
That is actually the most hurtful thing. Someone comes up to you and they're like, hey, my friend loves you. I don't know who you are though. I just recognize you from the computer screen. And you're like, awesome. Why are you not walking away? This is so bad. You don't like me. Is it my turn for predictions?
Yes.
Yeah. To touch on the original channels, some are gonna be successful, some will fail. I think a lot of the homegrown have been on YouTube for a while. Legitimate numbers, tubers will succeed. I like the Mike Diva channel. I think that's gonna be awesome. Like that's a lot of really creative, fantastic people all pushing their massive audiences to one place. Sorry, I was thinking about something else. I think it's really going to mainly be getting your content to a lot of other places other than the channel page and the watch page. It is a very nice experience, but it really comes down to one of the questions earlier: big screen versus small screen. I don't really have that. Everything I watch, I'm able to watch on any screen. I mean, like you said, I won't watch long form content on my phone because that's a bit annoying, unless I'm on a plane. It's all situational. But putting yourself out, kind of with the YouTube method, with the original channels, putting all your money on every single number because something's gonna hit, and just doing that instead of with lots and lots of money, but with your content and time.
Swami. I think that 2012 is going to be the year that we thought was going to happen after Dr. Horrible. I really do. I feel like there was a huge, Dr. Horrible came out and it was huge, and everybody was like, oh, web series, this is where it's at. I'm going to jump it in. This is going to be overnight success, everything. And there was, economic problem, and it just was a little harder than everybody thought, and then people made stuff that didn't succeed, especially on the Hollywood side, and everybody always goes, oh, no web series, And I did partially, YouTubers, they stayed in it because they had a platform and they had an audience they kept there, and the whole sort of Hollywood part kind of got weird about it. And now I think, just looking at some of these channels, but also just the general climate and the things at CES where everything's connected. Everybody's making distribution deals. Tom Hanks is making some kind of web series. It's the year that everybody jumps in the pool. And if you're in the pool, people are going to want content. So, maybe that web series that you wrote 2 years ago that you couldn't get made, or, people are going to be looking for people who have been in the space, who know the space, because they haven't been in the space. And the space is unique, as we'll see. I think it's going to be a really awesome year for web series. I think a lot of innovation is going to happen. I think a lot of things are going to surprise people, and it's going to be a lot of people jumping in the pool. So I'm just glad I'm in the pool.
My prediction, YouTube is going to have 1 billion viewers a month instead of the 800 million. It already has a massive audience, but it continues to grow, and I think with this new thing, it's just going to be new content people aren't used to seeing. So it's going to bring additional eyeballs that don't go to YouTube. Right now, you go to see personalities you love, or you go to see a funny cat video, but you're not really going, for this really high-end, bigger budgeted content. And now that's all going to change. People are realizing with this initiative, it's very different. The partners we've talked to, they're doing some very innovative things. Things that are challenging, that's shocking that they're even tackling, but they are, and they're treating it just like it really is a television network. So I think content as we know it is going to be very different. And you look at it at the end of the year, there are going to be some major hits, because there's never really been true shows that are hits online. I mean, early on, you had the Lonely Girl days, but never to a mass scale. I can't think of anything that, you know, really resonated in America like a movie would or like a television show would. And I think somebody's going to create it. It might be somebody on this panel, it might be someone else in the program, but there's going to be some new franchise that's created that's just going to be a massive industry.
All right, well, thank you guys for talking, and thank you guys for coming.
Thank you all for coming.